Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. What's going on? What is going on? Friday, October 31st. Happy Halloween to everybody. Where are all the trick or treaters? Swing by. Come by the studio real quick. I got loads of oatmeal. Handed oatmeal out to everybody. Get the kids some hot water and some oatmeal. They're going to love me. Put a little honey in there. Man, I think I would probably be the worst. No, I wouldn't be the worst. I'd hook them up with some good candy. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying their Friday. We got a busy show today. We got a busy day today. 2 shows today. Technically 3, because I'm hopping on a show a little bit later too. A show in New York, of all places. New York's like, hey Al, can we get some Laker info? Of course you can. Of course you can. Just ask. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Like I said, we got a packed show today. I do got a guest. I think I have a guest. Still kind of waiting for a final confirmation here, but I think we got a guest. I think we'll be good to go. All right, I'm going to give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. Obviously, I'll take a look at the comments. We got a lot of good topics, too. Yesterday, right when my show ended, there was the final approval of the Lakers sale, so I want to get into that. I want to talk about, obviously, the Lakers have a game coming up against the Memphis Grizzlies, so we got a lot going on. So he's asking where my coffee is. I went to Pete's today. Went to Pete's this morning. Went to Pete's. In the studio this morning, there's a Pete's right up the street. And I think the reason why I said oatmeal is because I might have had some oatmeal. So that might have been part of the reason. I don't want to say anybody, Sliwa, you're late. None of that today, okay? I was right on time, right at 8 o'clock. All right, let's give everyone a quick preview of what we got going on for the show. And again, I really do appreciate you guys being here. Lakers at the Grizzlies coming up a little bit later tonight. I got to be honest. When this road trip started, I was like, yeah, Lakers are going to get their asses kicked. They're probably going to lose both. Not because they're not a good team, just because they don't have their guys. They don't have a lot of their main players, and not even just the main players. They're missing a lot of role players after that as well. Well, Lakers go out there and they win the first game at Minnesota. Obviously, we know what happened there. Austin Reaves hits the buzzer beater. But then you start looking at tonight's game, and it's like, wait a minute here. The Grizzlies are also missing a ton of players as well. And the Lakers could be getting back. At least he's upgraded to questionable. I have it on here. Luka Doncic upgraded to questionable. So let's see what happens in regards to that. I'm going to spend a little time talking about this matchup. And, man, wouldn't that be something? Lakers go 2-0 on this road trip. That would be pretty amazing if that were to happen. Guess Khobi Price. So Khobi Price, who covers the Lakers for the OC Register, does a great job. I think this is his second year covering the team directly. He's going to come join the show in just a little bit as well. Probably about 8:15 is when he's going to come on the show. All right, let's see what else we got here. New ownership approved. I'm going to spend some time probably after the guest comes on. And I want to talk about why I think there is a significance here as far as the new ownership change. Now, listen, there are some guidelines. This is, part of the deal is going to have Jeannie Buss still in charge. Now, for how long, I'm not 100% sure. How much of that, new structure is just going to be more of a collective effort, I have no idea. But I will say that the track record that Mark Walters and his group has, I do think that the organization as a whole will be better in years to come. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that, but the sale was finally approved. NBA news, I got a couple things around the NBA that I'll spend some time on as well. The Spurs, I put it on here just because – we sit and we talk about all the different teams in the Western Conference, who the Lakers are going to be competing with. And I never put the Spurs up there in the sense of, hey, let's look at the top 6 teams in the Western Conference. And you start listing them. It's like, all right, Houston and Denver and OKC, Golden State, Clippers, Minnesota, Lakers. You can't have a conversation anymore without putting the San Antonio Spurs there. So Spurs will put in that conversation as well. And then Obviously, next week, Lakers are taking on the San Antonio Spurs. We'll get the weekend preview, and then we're going to call it a day. So not even call it a day. We'll call it well, actually, no, we can't even call it a day because we got another show coming up later tonight after the Lakers take on the Memphis Grizzlies. So tomorrow we're chilling. Tomorrow, take a little day off tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the channel. Let's get the show started. Okay, let me look at a couple of the quotes here. Let's see. If you still look good at the end of your workout, you didn't trade hard enough. Why are you describing my workouts, man? I mean, that's not cool. That is not cool at all. You guys ever do the gym where you go to the gym, you literally just, you sauna, you shower, you shave, and you're out of there? I'm like, I think I actually gained weight because I stopped by the smoothie bar and also got a smoothie that wasn't healthy. I might be the only one that went to the gym and gained 2.5 pounds. Is that possible? I think it's possible. All right, let's see what else we have here. You don't want Luka to come back too early from that bummed finger. Yeah, I will say this, and just, I think the Lakers are going to be so cautious with Luka. I'm not worried about Luka. If Luka comes back, that means Luka's clearly ready to come back. I mean, for him to take 3 games off or 2 games off, how many is he taking off? 3 games off, I think, if I'm right here. Yeah, Sacramento, Portland, and Minnesota. I mean, is that not because of an abundance of caution? I think it's more because of an abundance of caution. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Lakers and the Grizzlies. So I'll give just a little bit of a preview to the game just so everybody understands. And if you didn't, and I highly encourage you to do this. Last night, Sammy, who you guys know does the preview video on the channel, did a pretty good in-depth video of the Lakers and the Grizzlies. And the reason why I try to encourage you guys, when I talk to Sammy and what I'm looking for in a preview video, and the only reason why I say this is because I think others are looking for something similar in a preview video. Educate me. Tell me what's going on for this game. Give me an update on, I'm not watching Memphis Grizzlies games, so can I walk away with a lot more knowledge about the Memphis Grizzlies? And no surprise, Sammy does a great job doing that. Love how he gives his own opinion on things as well. Certainly is opinionated when it comes to Lakers basketball and very educated on it. So yesterday I'm listening to his preview video. I did not realize how many guys that the Memphis Grizzlies have on their injury report. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, we know for the Lakers, we're talking a lot about, oh my gosh, they're missing this player, that player. The game they had against Portland, I think there were 7 guys missing. 7 players missing against Portland. And we weren't even 4 or 5 games into the season. All right, give you an idea for the Memphis Grizzlies here. Zach Edey, out. That's a big out right there. Brandon Clark, out. Ty Jerome, out. Scottie Pippen Jr., out. Everybody knows about Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, he's flourished there in Memphis while he didn't do much with the Lakers. Those are 4 key players for them that are not in this game. So, I think as we look at the Lakers, and like I said, as I started the show, I had a little bit of, my mentality or my game plan coming into this 2-game road trip for the Lakers before they come back on Sunday. And then I think they're back on the road, back at home, and then they're gone for a week and a half or so. I really didn't feel good at all about these 2 games that the Lakers had at Minnesota and at Memphis. Now, at the same time, that's primarily just due to Lakers aren't healthy. They don't have their guys. And it's not even just missing your stars, but then you're also missing Gabe Vincent and Marcus Smart, and go down the list of some of the other players that they're missing. So with that in mind, didn't feel good about the road trip. All right, Lakers go out. We know what they did against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, you could describe the game however you want. They won by 1. And it was a game winner. Yes, they almost blew the lead late in the 4th quarter, but Jake LaRavia had his moment. He arrived for the Lakers. Go down the list. I mean, Deandre Ayton, excellent for the Lakers. Rui did his job. Dalton Connect, 16 points. So you could have highlighted so many different players in that game, but most importantly to me, they won the game. Now you walk into this game against the Memphis Grizzlies, and again, I think you're kind of playing with house money here, unless Luka Doncic is back. Because what happens in this game, and I don't know what the Memphis Grizzlies are. I don't know the direction of this team. Obviously, they traded Desmond Bane in the offseason. They do have KCP now, which I forgot about until I was listening to Sammy yesterday. But you look at this game tonight, and it's a winnable game. Now, if they don't have Luka, I don't know how winnable it is. I think it will be a tough game. And frankly, I've said this before, that if they were to just come back 3-3 after this 2-game road trip with not having a game yet with LeBron under his belt, obviously the situation with Luka Doncic, that's impressive to me. But here is the the update in regards to that. Luka Doncic and Marcus Smart are both listed as questionable. I mean, that's so significant. And I will say this. I'm impressed with how the Lakers have played without Luka. I'm very curious to see too, when Luka comes back, what is that dynamic with him and Austin Reaves? What does it look like? I think what Austin Reaves has at least been able to prove in the short amount of time so far this season is he can facilitate. He can play the point guard role that is not just, I'm going to go get a bucket for myself. He has that ability and he has that skill set to go out there and dish out 10 dimes a game or 8 dimes a game. Or in the last game against Minnesota, 16 dimes. I'm very curious how those two are going to figure out how to work together, because Luka Doncic is the head of the franchise, no question about it. This is his team. Whatever the hell he wants, he gets. But Austin Reaves has also proven I'm a pretty damn good player myself, and I can help take some of the burden off your shoulders. Now, Luka's got to have the ball in his hands. This is just kind of his style. But do the rotations change a little bit? I keep hearing more and more people tell me, hey, Al, I ran into this guy yesterday. There's knows I do the show, used to listen to me back when I was in radio. So every time we see each other, we kind of have a quick chat about the team. And over the last couple of days, I've had a couple people tell me this, and I don't think it's a bad idea, saying, hey, Al, when they're healthy, why not have Reaves come off the bench? Do I think they'll do that? No, I don't. And do I think that it has to be that way? It probably doesn't. But what I think the Lakers can do, and what I do think is going to be beneficial to them, is you don't have to have Luka and Austin Reaves playing together the entire time. Stagger those minutes. There are times where, hey, the keys are in Reaves' hands. You go run the offense. Luka, take a breather. And then there should be times where Luka's Luka, and he's going to do what he does. He's going to put up the ridiculous numbers, and he's going to be a candidate, hopefully, for MVP this year. But I'm curious to see, as they do come back, how that dynamic between those two players changes a little bit. And I when I say changes a little bit, what I really mean by that is for the benefit. What I mean by that is for the greater good of the team. Because if there are people, which I know there are, that like Austin Reaves' skill set, but think that it's redundant with what Luka brings to the table, then they got to really find ways to be wildly creative when it comes to how they use those two players together. I hope we get a chance to see it tonight. My expectations will change if Luka's playing and if Marcus Smart playing. Now you're like, hey, maybe they could sweep this road trip and go 2-0 on this road trip. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what will happen. But that the Luka piece, since Luka's been gone, Austin Reaves has shined. First off, Austin Reaves was shining in his role when Luka was there. But since Luka's been gone, he's taken his game to a whole different level. So when Luka comes back, hopefully tonight, how will that dynamic, how can they, I don't know how much of it will change, how much of it will look even better, how much of it will look redundant. I'm not 100% sure. But when you're in the middle of the regular season, you have opportunities like this to kind of see what you are and what the potential is of your lineup. I'm excited to see it. The other piece, too, I'll just mention it real quick, the Marcus Smart piece. I feel like Laker fans have had a really positive experience with Marcus Smart to start the season. But the issue that I think we're all concerned about and this is the same issue, the conversation that we've had from the beginning, will he be available? That's the only conversation. And so far to start off the season, when he's been out on the floor, you can see his presence. When he's been on the floor, you could see that he's got, real opportunity to show what he brings to the table. I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, damn, can you kind of imagine Marcus Smart in the playoffs, in the postseason? What he would be for the Lakers if it's a playoff game? Be phenomenal. That's what Marcus Smart is. But there's also the question and the issue with is he available? And that's the only question mark, in my opinion, on Marcus Smart, because I see his value when he's out on the floor. He's questionable tonight as well, him and Luka. So, hoping obviously the best, and hopefully we get both of those players in there. All right, let me read a couple of these. All right, JJ already showed that his plans for them, they start and end the game together, but otherwise appears he very much knows their minutes, needs to be staggered to take a full advantage. Yeah, and that's, this is a good thing. It's a good problem to have. The good problem to have is you have two guys that can get everybody else going and can get a bucket from themselves at any time. Austin Reaves has, he's proven so far this year, and I get it. We're so early in the season. It would be absurd to, think that what Austin Reaves is doing is gonna last all season. Obviously, it's not. He's going to have bad nights. He'll struggle. He'll have all that stuff. It's just going to come with the territory. He'll have less production just naturally because Luka's back out on the floor. LeBron's back out on the floor. But what a luxury to have for JJ Redick. Damn, I go to any of these guys at any time. That part's incredible. All right, let me get a couple more in here before Khobi gets in here. Khobi Price. Just as winnable as the Minnesota game. All right. Slee, you put all the stock in Luka and LeBron. We have more of a team this year, and you're not looking at that center position. They in being every game without our major stars. Jason, I let me tell you, when the season started, I don't know what to expect from Deandre Ayton. Yeah, I could pretend and tell you, the guy's going to be great. I'm making a complete, it's blind faith if that's the case. I did a video earlier this week talking about how I think this team is better than I thought because of what I've already seen during the regular season. And a lot of that has to do with the role players, the chemistry, obviously having more size now than they did a year ago. Ayton is by far the biggest question mark for the Lakers. Ayton by far seems to be the most critical piece that if he has a good season, then the Lakers may have a good season. But nobody can predict whether Ayton's going to have a good year this year. And I think he's done better than I thought. Got an 82-game season. So I would kind of pump the brakes, not get too excited. But Ayton has been better than I thought. Absolutely he has. And when you put your stock in Luka and LeBron is because any team puts their stock in superstars. And then, of course, you got the trickle-down effect that happens with the rest of the players. All right, I will take a look at some of the comments here in just a little bit. I want to welcome in our guest. Very, very kind to join the show. Khobi Price in the house.
What's up?
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Morning. I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so you're when'd you get in? Did you get into Memphis yesterday?
Yeah, I got in late last night. Got into Memphis, Tennessee.
All right, very nice. Very nice. Well, I appreciate you joining the show as always. And
Yeah, for sure.
you're out here on the road doing your thing. So this great to have you on the show. Okay, I'll start off with this. I was just talking a little bit about Lakers and the Grizzlies tonight. Why don't we just kind of hit on that for a quick second? Grizzlies got a handful of key players for them as well that are out. I did see, and obviously it looks like Luka and Marcus Smart are questionable. Just out of curiosity, do you expect those two to play, or you have no idea until we get closer to tip-off?
I mean, with Marcus Smart, there's probably I would say there's a better chance, right? Just because he was listed as questionable going into the Minnesota game. Mm-hmm. And usually, if you're questionable for one game, you don't play, maybe it makes it more likely you may go back or may return for the second game. The Luka one, very much wait and see. I mean, I don't. He didn't travel to Minnesota. He wasn't with the team. He wasn't on the court at Target Center, so he would have to travel separately. So that's to me. I mean, they're going to have shoot around should be there in about an hour ish. So that should be illuminating, or that should provide some answers about Luka's status. But what JJ said on Wednesday before the Minnesota game, that was at least encouraging. I mean, the contusion, that's day to day. It's a bruise, you got to play it out. But the finger swelling going down, like that's pretty significant, and that was encouraging to hear in terms of Luka's status.
That's a good point. The fact that he doesn't travel to Minnesota, and I'm maybe a little surprised that they would wait, or that they wouldn't wait until they just get back home. And I think initially the thought was he's going to miss a week, so everybody's timetable. Let's put it this way: if he plays tonight, I think that'd be more of a surprise than if he doesn't. And obviously, hopefully, ready to go by the time Sunday we get to Sunday. Team is 3-2. They have won a couple of games now. Obviously, without LeBron, they've won 2 games without Luka. What's your thoughts on what you've seen so far? I mean, I was just telling the audience, and obviously doing a show Monday through Friday, I'm very encouraged, and I'm maybe a little surprised as well, just because of all the injuries and still having some success. What do you make of what they've done so far?
I would definitely say if you're a fan of the Lakers, you should be encouraged by what you've seen. I mean, even the first 2 games where Luka played, he looked phenomenal. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I guess you have to go to Austin Reaves, right? Like, the fact that he's able to do this at this level. And look, to me, yes, the numbers matter, obviously, right? Like the number, like him having career high 51, the career high time 16 assists the other night.
The assists what get me, even though obviously he's putting up unbelievable numbers, but his facilitating, to me, I feel like right now is what's taking his game to another level.
100%. I'm completely with you. I mean, I know, and he's averaging 10 assists for the season.
Yeah.
And obviously assists aren't everything, because there are plays where you make a simple pass, a guy makes a shot, and it counts as assist. But there are also other plays where he's making really high level passes. Guys don't make the shot, you don't get anything from that. But the way he's reading the floor, to your point, he's taking it multiple levels up. I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was my first season. It was my first season covering the team, and that was one of the things that was that they were looking for from him. Like, can he develop even more as a playmaker, as a floor general? And even last year, there were times where he would lose the ball, turnovers, all of this. And that's not to say he doesn't have, he's had high turnover games so far, but he's commanding he's commanding the ball. He's taking care of the ball. He's has a I'm just going to say like point guard presence, but he's just taking care of, like, he's controlling the game at a different level than last year and even the year before. And that's the most encouraging thing about Austin specifically. The numbers are amazing. They're phenomenal. The shot making, the facilitating, but the control of the game, that's where I feel like he's taking a big step. People talk about leadership. That's important. Facilitating is all important, but control of the game, that's been, because it hasn't felt like, even when they've been picking them up full court, even when they throw these bigger, longer defenders on him like Kamara or McDaniels, like these are some of the best defenders in the NBA.
Sure,
he's played at his own speed, so he's played at his own level. Forget the production at the end of the game, which obviously matters. He still played the Austin Reaves game. That's where it's like, okay, that's the big step. So you asked me about the Lakers. How's your feel? To me, that's one of the
kind of starts right there, right? It starts with what Reaves is doing. Can Khobi, I'll mention one thing, because I think you said, and this will go to a conversation I was just having. I was reading a couple comments from the chat, but I think the comfort level of playing that role as well, it's not like a inconvenience or intimidating or no, that's not what I do. I think there was such a vast difference between the Blazer game and the Minnesota game. And yes, he had 8 turnovers against the Blazers. The problem with Portland, too, is that's your first game where really a team is throwing the blitzes at you. They got so much attention on you. They're picking you up full court. Obviously that's what they're doing. But I thought there was a drastic difference between how he played against Minnesota versus how he played against Portland and how the team played overall. Obviously, you got Jake LaRavia hitting 90% of his shots. Things are going to change. Dalton Connect is doing his thing. Ayton's doing his thing. Rui was doing his thing. There was just a collective team effort that probably took some of that off the shoulders of Austin Reaves. But I do like what you're saying because he is beginning to look like a natural point guard. And I never really looked at him that way. And maybe this is kind of part of his evolution. Yes, there are other ways that I could adapt as well. And I could adapt for this team specifically. I certainly noticed that as well. My question to you is, Luka comes back. He's going to have the ball game. I mean, it's Luka Doncic. He'll kind of be the initiator for most of the Lakers offense. What's the best way you think JJ kind of staggers these guys where he's still allowing Austin Reaves to be Austin Reaves, still allows Luka to be Luka? How can they complement each other? Is it starting the game and ending the game together, but then staggering some of those minutes? How do you think he approaches that? And I think it's obviously a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of problem that you want, right? If you're a head coach. I mean, we saw that. I mean, that's what we were seeing in the first 2 games. We didn't get to see it for long because it was only 2 games, but I mean, we saw that in the first 2 games where I think it was like Luka's playing basically the entire first quarter, and Austin, I think he was sub out maybe around like the 4.5 minute mark. And then come back in at the end of the first. He would start the second quarter when Luka's out. Luka would come in maybe around like the 7-8 minute mark. Austin goes out to catch a breather. Then he comes back in to end the first half. Repeat it for the second half. The one game Austin was in foul trouble, so Luka actually started the Golden State game. I think that's when Austin was in foul trouble, so Luka came in.
Yeah, but 5 to end that game, 5 fouls, but he was in and out. Yep.
Yeah, all that. And so Luka started the fourth quarter against the Warriors. But all that to say, like, the staggering was already in place. Like, there was already implementation of, all right, they're going to share the floor. They can, just start the first and third quarters. We're going to close out the halves with them. And then in between, like, Luka's going to have his time with these units. Austin will have his moments with other units to start the second and fourth quarter, theoretically. Like, that's how we'll maximize their minutes because you also want to have at least one of them on the floor at all times. Like that, you can't play especially without LeBron. You have to have at least one of them on the floor at all times.
Sure.
Especially when you don't have without LeBron, without Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart has been out a couple games. Like you need that ball handling. I mean, that's the other thing about Austin's run of the past week. Like they've just lacked ball handling between no Luka, no LeBron. Marcus, like I said, he had been out since the Sacramento game after the Sacramento game, since the Sacramento game. Gabe's out for a while. Like it's not just that Austin's doing this. He's doing this, and they do not have. I mean, they have Nick Smith Jr., they have Bronny James, but those are 2-way guys. Those aren't guys you're going to count on to be ball handlers.
Yeah, they're doing it at a necessity. It's not a luxury. They really don't have a choice. When I heard, and you were probably right there when it happened. When I heard, you might have even asked the question, but there was something to Deandre Ayton about JJ asking, "Man, there's going to be times you'll bring the ball up." I'm like, well, that's not good. I'm like, that's not good. I mean, but in my head, that's just kind of that's the level it had gone to. And we saw Ayton at one point in the Minnesota game start bringing up the ball. Gobert was backing up off of him. I'm like, where's the guard? Somebody come grab the ball from Ayton. Speaking of DeAndre Ayton,
yeah,
what's your initial thoughts so far?
He's done basically everything that you could have hoped for from him, to be honest. I mean, the first game outside of Luka and Austin, like the first game, even Austin, even with the production, I think the first game was just rough for everybody. Outside of Luka, just in terms of production, just in terms of feel, but outside, like ever since that Warriors loss to start the season, DeAndre's been really good. He's been really good. I mean, we knew. I mean, he's not the funny thing about, and it's interesting when like players will join a team and like DeAndre's a known commodity. He's been in the league since 2018. He was number 1 pick in 2018. So what he's doing isn't so much new, but it is refreshing after covering the team last season, where the only big man was Jackson Hayes for a significant stretch, and it's like, oh wow, this is big man stuff that I forgot that could be very helpful. I'll start with this. His screen setting is such a difference maker, and I'm the type of person like I watch how do you set screens? Like what's your philosophy in terms of setting screens? Because there are guys who just like, all right, I'm here, I'm present. No, Deandre is I'm setting the screen. You're gonna have to he's 7 feet.
You're gonna feel my impact.
Yeah, you're gonna feel it, and you're gonna have to move around me. This isn't gonna be one of these and sometimes he'll slip screens when it's necessary, but he's a true screen setter. I think I saw a stat on ESPN. I'll see if I can bring it up because I took a screenshot of it. It was just something that it matched what I was seeing, so I was like, this makes sense. No, I can't find it, but it was something about Deandre is he set 100 screens and they've scored the most out of them. It was illuminating just because that's the kind of stuff that matters. We talk about how much Austin's got going, it's been a lot of Austin Deandre pick and roll, and even if Deandre's not scoring, he's creating the space for Austin to do what Austin does.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, and if you find that stat, but I think because you have two specific players as well, stylistically, Luka and Austin Reaves, who are not typically going to blow by you, right? They're going to be, it's more slicing and dicing the defense. It's being a little bit more strategic than that center who's setting that screen top of the key that then gives you all these other looks and opportunities. It becomes important. You're right. There are some bigs in the league where it's I'm setting a screen, but only because I'm told to, not because I'm going to set a good screen. Obviously, Deandre Ayton's not one of those guys. But yeah, he's been for me, I think, like you said, and I didn't have much expectations coming in because let me see it. I have nothing I got no factual information. I got no games played where I could tell you he's going to be great for the Lakers or he's going to be a bust for the Lakers. I think he has been really, really nice. And I think he's only going to get better I feel like every game he's got a little bit more comfortable and has had a little bit more impact. You got that stat?
Yeah, this is it was 100. So I think this was after the Minnesota game. He's 100 direct picks. He set 100 direct picks, which has led the NBA, or at least the NBA, at least as of Thursday. So as of yesterday, 1.18 points per Ayton direct pick. And they scored 50 points off Ayton's picks.
Wow.
Against Minnesota. So
interesting stat.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that says it to me. That says it all. That says a lot. But also the touch, it's not just it's the touch near the rim. It was also interesting to see against Minnesota when they had the pick and roll, he would get the pocket. He get the pass in the pocket. He would shoot over Rudy Gobert, but then if he had Naz Reid or any other defender on him, he's going inside and finishing strong. So having the awareness of, yeah, I'm a big man, but that's Rudy Gobert. Let me see if I can just utilize my touch and I know some people will criticize, but you're a big man, go in there. It's well, if he knows, there's a level of self-awareness there. It feels like that. I feel like when you talk about DeAndre, people always aren't so aware, they don't give him that credit, at least on the court. But I feel like there was a level of self-awareness of he knows his strengths, he knows his weaknesses, he knows he can, really bully smaller guys or guys even Naz Reid's size. But when you're going against Rudy Gobert, someone who's taller and bigger, let me use you as my touch. That to me, that's been a welcome addition. Just because, yes, it would be nice if he could stretch the floor out to the 3-point line, but even being able to stretch the floor to 16, 17, 18 feet, that's been helpful. Just because that's getting a nice little mid-range shot in. You have to keep defensive honest. It's not just always a hard roll to the rim. It can be in the short roll. Sometimes he can give you a nice hard roll as well. So the diversity is good.
There's for me, there's always two types of big men. And Lakers got both of them. Two types of big men in the NBA: athlete not basketball player. And I would say that's Jackson Hayes. I know that sounds a little brutal to say that, but he's more of an athlete before he is a basketball player. And I think Ayton falls into the other side. He's a basketball player. Like you said, he's got the touch, he's got the instincts, he's got the ability to get that little floater in. He could hit a 15-footer. It reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if you want to call it old school basketball, but the big man has evolved over the years. And I think his skill set and his opportunity on this team, it's kind of a perfect marriage. Now, we're only 5 games in, so we'll continue to let things roll, but I don't think there's much to make me think that, well, he's going to really struggle when Luka comes back. Well, why would that be the case? Well, he's just not going to get as many looks when LeBron comes back. Why would that be the case? Like, I mean, he's going to have guys that have the capability of getting 10 dimes a game and throwing him lobs. When Luka, Austin Reaves, and LeBron are all there, I think he's going to feast. So, we'll see how the season progresses, but really good start for him. Jake LaRavia had, I love what JJ Redick said, and, kind of like guys have their moment, and he arrived. He became a Laker on Wednesday, October 29th. Jake LaRavia officially became a Los Angeles Laker. Obviously, his production in the game against Minnesota. What is Jake LaRavia? Because I think we really haven't talked all that much about him. Most of my conversations and interactions, like, why they get rid of Dorian Finney-Smith? There's that association between the two players. What is LaRavia, and how do you think he could be effective this season for the Lake Show?
That's the same question that Anthony Edwards is asking, apparently. And that's the same question that a fan not too far away from where we're sitting in Minnesota was asking as well, because Jake LaRavia, even though this is his 3rd NBA team, he's still very much an unknown commodity entering his 4th season in the NBA. Jake is, he's like he can be a Swiss Army knife. He can do a lot of different things for this team in terms of scoring, keeping the ball moving. I don't know if he's the biggest facilitator, but he's definitely a keep the ball moving, keep the motion flowing, keep it going. Defensively, he's very active. He's a defensive playmaker. I don't know if he's like a quote unquote defensive stopper, but when he's engaged and when he's ramped up the energy, he can definitely be a defensive playmaker and be a difference maker on that end of the floor. Tenacious offensive rebounder. Even if he's not getting the offensive rebounds, like, he's going to go after it. So that's who, as a player, that's who he is. I think so the production on Friday, the production on Wednesday was phenomenal to see. The thing that stood out to me more than just the shot making, you hope that it will stay even when the shot making isn't as, like, he was 10 for 11 on Wednesday. Like, that's just ridiculous. There aren't going to be, if he could do that more than once, that's like, you're like, oh my gosh, it's incredible. But even when the shot making, even if it's a 5 for 11 game, 6 for 11, 4 for 11, will these score? I talked to him after the game on Wednesday. He called it a scorer's mindset. Will that still be there even when the shots aren't falling the same way? And I know that I appreciate efficiency. I appreciate guys going, 6 for 11, 7 for 11, not 8 for 11, whatever. But sometimes you just got to shoot the ball. And there will be times in other games where Jake just would not shoot the ball even when he's open. There were times in the Minnesota game where he's open and he's passing. And what was so encouraging is that he was taking shots against Minnesota that he would pass up in other games. And regardless of if they win or not, I remember watching the game, be like, he needs to take that shot. That's a good shot. That's a good shot. And they just happen to go in a lot more often than not. I guess all but one time they all went in against the Timberwolves. But that was the thing that was most encouraging to see, just because, he's still a young player. He joined a team with LeBron and Luka and Austin and Deandre. Like, I'm sure there's an element of let me get in the corner and let me let these guys cook, and I'll just give what I get. But there are going to be times LeBron made sure to mention Jake when asked about the free agent additions. We brought up Marcus and Deandre, and LeBron's like, don't forget Jake. Like, the Lakers have spoke so highly of Jake. Obviously Deandre's in the prime of his career. Marcus is not in the prime, maybe on the back end of his prime of his career. Like, Jake is still super young. Like, there's still a lot of development there. But for him, I think some of it starts with, when you have a shot, when it doesn't, JJ says, good to great. Sometimes, especially when the team's shorthanded like they are, sometimes you got to go for good, right? Like sometimes the good is the best it will be. And I think that's something that Jake's got to just be a little bit more aggressive in terms of looking for his own shot, especially when he's open. Doesn't have to be pumpkin drive. Just take the catch and shoot three.
Yeah, what I'm curious about, and I think, I think this happened for both of these players. Jake LaRavia and Dalton Connect knew in the game against Minnesota, we have to fire away. We have to take shots when we can. We got to be aggressive because there's nobody really behind us outside of Austin Reaves and Ayton that you think, and that Rui's going to get his, that's fine. But they needed 5-6 guys to be productive to beat Minnesota. And they got 5-6 guys that were productive against Minnesota. The question I have, and this is not easy for players like Jake LaRavia. I use Dalton Connect as an example. I think Rui has struggled with this at times. When all those stars are back, when do I pick and choose when to be aggressive or not? Because every shot I take is one less shot that Luka takes, or one less shot that LeBron takes, or one less bucket that Austin Reaves. So I think that's always the tough thing. And if he took 11 shots against Minnesota because all these other players were out, does that shot total become 6 when these other players are back? Do you get into that rhythm? That's what makes some of those role players so unbelievable. And you and I have watched it. We'll see one of them tonight. I think KCP is one of the best role players in the NBA, understands his role, knows when to take shots, this and that. He doesn't need a high volume of shots to affect the game. And I'm just using KCP as an example. I know he's a two-way player and everything else. That's also a learning curve, I think, for players like we're talking about. And I think it was probably much easier for them against Minnesota than it will be when all the stars are back to kind of pick and choose when to say, all right, let me unload.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I agree. And then that's what, I mean, you don't know. You don't know how guys are going to react when this the full group. But to your point, yeah, it may be, when you have LeBron back, when you have Luka back, when you have Marcus back, it may be 5-6 shots instead of 11. But I'll also point out that
take the good shots.
Gotta take the good shots, but also when was the Portland game? Monday? On Monday, he took 6 shots, and that was when they didn't have Luka,
not enough.
LeBron. It's not enough. And look, he went I think it was 1 for 6, so he wasn't in the best rhythm.
Yeah, he had 3 points.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not enough when you're missing all those guys. Like the teams are essentially the same between they got Jackson back. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially the same in terms of ball handling. But there were even more shots in Portland where I'm thinking you did the pump and or you drove when you could have just let it fly. And you may not have the best rhythm, but you sometimes as a role player you establish your rhythm in other ways, whether it's good defense or you just got to take the open shot because. Yes, Luka, Austin, and LeBron, specifically Luka and Austin, they're going to get theirs. Like I was watching a clip of Steve Kerr, not Steve Kerr, of Draymond Green interview, and it had Steve Kerr interviews. This is like a rabbit hole I was down when I was flying in Memphis yesterday. They were talking about how different it was when when Steve Kerr got hired, they implemented the offense in 2014, and like Draymond's like, what is this? Like all the motion and all the cut, like. But Steph's our guy, like Clay, and Clay's also one of our guys. Like, how are they going to get the ball? And Steve's point was the ball will if we do what we're supposed to do, the ball will always find. It will always find the stars. The ball will always go back to some way, somehow. The ball will always get back to your stars. All that to say, regardless of the offense, and the offense looks much different now than it did. Obviously, start last season, or even when Luka joined the team. Like, the ball is always going to find a way to get back to Luka and Austin, even LeBron to an extent. It's on, like, Rui, Jake, Deandre. Like, they have to be aggressive with their opportunities and be opportunistic with their chances to score to remain threats. Because the last thing you want is, oh, yeah, we only got to worry about those 3 because they're the only ones who shoot or they're the only ones looking to score. Well, then that just makes it easier for other teams to guard them. What's supposed to make this Lakers team so special coming into this season is that everyone's a threat. And then that just makes LeBron, Austin, and Luka even more dangerous because, all right, you're going to send you're going to blitz Luka. All right, you got LeBron and Austin, maybe weak side or working up, like they're cooking something else up that you can't guard, and it may not even result in them scoring, but they're just it could be Rui dunk, or Deandre dunk, or a Jake 3. Like the fact, like they have so many threats, they could. What's it? Death by 1,000, whatever it's called, by 1,000 cut. Like that could be the Lakers, depending on how teams defend them. So that's why it's so important to bring it full circle for a guy like Jake to be more aggressive when the chances are there offensively.
Khobi, final one I got for you, brother, and appreciate you joining the show. I know you got shoot around coming up. Khobi Price, OC Register, out in Memphis for Lakers and the Grizzlies coming up tonight. Yesterday was the approval. So Mark Walter approved as majority owner of the Lakers. They're kind of closing in on that sale. They had a couple quotes. We'll get into that in a little bit. I want to just kind of get your opinion, and because you're such in the mix of everything and around all these other NBA people and everything else around the team, how much significance can this have on the Lakers? Knowing that ownership group obviously has incredibly deep pockets, knowing that you do have a salary cap in the NBA, so it's not like Major League Baseball. You can go and just spend as much as you want. But what kind of significance do you think this can be long-term for the Lakers? And what is kind of the feeling around the league about this ownership coming in and taking over for the Buss family eventually? I know it's going to be a process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm breaking ground, but I think it's going to be something that is just the investment that's involved in non-player payroll parts of it, if that makes sense. Like maybe expanding the front office. There's some of the investments already started, but in terms of the analytics group and the performance team, but a lot of it is like, how can you invest in the non-player payroll, non-player salary parts of the organization? That's something we haven't. The sale was just approved yesterday. Obviously, this has been in the works for a while now, but just approved yesterday. He is now Mark Walter is the new majority owner. So that's the part that people are just more so within the organization, but even around the league, it's like what do the Lakers look like when a deep-pocketed owner is investing in the team in ways that they just weren't investing in for significant stretch. I mean, up until now, to be honest, So that's the part where it's like, and how can they benefit from that? I mean, we've seen teams investing more in their scouting, their pro player personnel, their college scouting, the G League. Like that's been, I don't want to call it low-hanging fruit, but so you're bringing in. I mean, teams have talked about it really since the new CBA came into effect and the aprons and whatnot. I was actually just talking with the scout about it. A team that I don't remember their situation, but they're approaching the second apron, not this year, but maybe even like in future years. Like aprons concerns, they're out here talking about like, yeah, we need to like look at the G League, like G League guys, just because those are the kind of guys that could be less expensive players to add to your team. That can help you avoid apron penalties, because it's not just the actual staying out the apron; it's the repeater tax, repeater aprons. Like that's punitive. But all that to say, like teams are investing more in trying to figure out who can they bring from the G League or the two ways, and then also the main roster on like lower, less expensive deals, just because of that. Those are the kind of resources that the Lakers could use at a higher level. So yeah, you're going to have Luka, like to bring it to the current team, you're going to have Luka and most likely Austin and maybe another star, another high paid player on this team, for the foreseeable future. What does the rest of the roster look like? You're going to need to have less expensive players for roster spots 14, 13, 12, 11. But yeah, they also need to contribute. A player like Jordan Goodwin, right, who was at one point, he was a two-way player and then worked his way up to being the ninth man or eighth man. If you can find more players like that in the G League or, scouting in college, like that's where the difference can be made. And some of that they've already done, but it's just doing it more consistently at a higher level.
And that could honestly be the difference of a deep playoff run and getting eliminated in the first round. So it could be just those players kind of on the outer edge there.
100%.
Khobi, that was fun, brother. Let's do it again soon. I know we are game planning at Lakers opening night. I'm like, all right, when they travel, the morning they travel.
Yeah.
So we made it happen. So thank you for doing this, brother. Safe travels back to LA, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Appreciate you.
All right, that is Khobi Price right there. Good stuff from Khobi. Good dude. I like that guy. Like that guy a lot. Always have nice conversations with him. Always enjoy my time with him. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview as well. Okay. I'm going to look at some of the comments, and then I do want to get into the sale because I do think it's significant. I really do. And I think that there is more to this than just, rich owners coming in or whatever the case is. I think there's more to it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let's see. All right, people tying in the current ownership. All right, I got a couple here that I saw. Austin's so valuable offensively that it makes up for his defense, which he is actually a better defender than people think. Not great, but not terrible. Let's get Luka back in the lineup. Let's see what this team is when they got, all their guys back. Is this, you guys can tell me if you agree with this or disagree. And if you disagree, then just turn off your computer because I don't want to talk to you. No, I'm being honest here. But isn't this team sort of enjoyable to watch right now? Kind of like enjoying the style they play. And it's not just Austin Reaves, but I like the way they compete. I like the vibe of the team. I think I know right out the gate that, all right, they're going to put up a fight and we'll see what happens. That piece I like. And that's without a lot of their talent and a lot of the pieces that you feel like are going to have a big impact as the season progresses. So I do think, I do think that portion is significant. All right, let's see what we got here. Not a baseball conversation. All right, new ownership will have to spend money more wisely to avoid mistakes like they did with the relief pitchers they brought in. All right, so they're talking about trying to make a comparison there to the Dodgers. Let's talk about the new ownership real quick, okay? So yesterday, not too far after the show. By the way, why does everything break right when the show ends? The show ends and it's like at 9:30, they're sending out a press release and saying, hey, this happened and that happened. All right, is what it is. Mark Walter approved as majority owner of Lakers as they close in on the sale. Here's what Mark Walter had to say. The Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most iconic franchises in all of sports, defined by a history of excellence and relentless pursuit of greatness. Few teams carry the legacy and global influence of the Lakers, and it's a privilege to work alongside Jeannie Buss as we maintain that excellence and set the standard for success in this new era, both on and off the court. Okay, let's keep going here. The Buss family will retain a minority ownership stake in the team of more than 15%, allowing current Lakers governor Jeannie Buss to remain in her role for at least the next 5 years. She will oversee day-to-day operations for the foreseeable future. She had a quote as well: over the past decade, I've come to know Mark well, first as a businessman, then as a friend, and now as a colleague. He has demonstrated time and time again his commitment to bringing championships to LA, and on behalf of Laker fans everywhere, I'm beyond excited about what our future has in store. Obviously, the Lakers' valuation, $10 billion is what they were selling for. We go from there. Adam Silver, the league has approved the sale. Okay, let's, getting closer to approve the sale. I'm going to tell you guys, at least from my opinion, what I make of the sale and why I think it's so significant. Jeannie Buss and the Buss family were put in a tough position when the great Dr. Jerry Buss passed. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The position that they were put in is, just do it like your dad. No one's going to do it like your dad. He, in my opinion, is the greatest owner in the history of sports. He bought the team in 1979, and from the day he passed in 2013, Lakers had been to almost 50% of the NBA Finals over that time. You got the 5 championships in the Showtime era. You got the 5 championships with Shaq, with Khobi, with Gasol. Then add another one, obviously, with LeBron and Anthony Davis. But take that one out just because that was after Dr. Jerry Buss passed. You got 10 championships in that span. They went to the finals, I want to say 15 times in that span. No one's ever going to be Dr. Jerry Buss. And the Buss family taking over, it's like, yeah, you got no shot here. You got no shot to obviously live up to what your dad did. But I also think, we got to be realistic of what happened from the Lakers since the moment the Buss family took over and Dr. Jerry Buss passed. It's not the same organization. It wasn't. Maybe the allure is there. Maybe the brand is there. Maybe you could still attract some star power. They went 6 years without making the playoffs. They did have one NBA championship. We'll give them credit for that. But this franchise has kind of been a roller coaster over the last X amount of years. So I do think that bringing in Mark Walter and his group will add stability to this franchise. You see, the one thing that you're asking for, I think, from a sports perspective is, can our team have a shot year in and year out? If you want me to give a Dodger example, I'll give you a Dodger example. And again, it's not apples to apples. If anybody thinks what's happened to the Dodgers is going to be exactly what happened to the Lakers, that ain't how it works. And it definitely is not the structure of the NBA. And the NBA has been, it's important for them we want an equal playing field. That's not the case in baseball. Baseball does not have an equal playing field. But it's still going to be very significant what I think this ownership group will bring to the Lakers. You don't want a roller coaster. And that's kind of what the Lakers are. And that's what it's been under the Buss family. What you're hoping for is, can we just kind of have a franchise that's steady? You're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs, but for the most part, it's steady. And I think what new ownership group will bring in, they'll eventually get this franchise to a position where, yeah, they got a shot every year. And I think where they'll take their resources to scouting and they'll take their resources to analytics and get the best front office in there and the best assistants and the best coaching and all this, they'll eventually get to a point where at the top and as it trickles down all the way down to the players, they got a well-oiled machine. That's kind of that's the idea. That's the concept. They certainly got the pockets to do it. I do think if there was a time and if there's a franchise like the Buss family, they're very wise of who they're passing the torch to, because it is an ownership group that does have an understanding of all this stuff and at least has an understanding from a sports perspective. They certainly know how to run businesses. So I'm not surprised that of all probably potential owners out there, Jeannie chose this ownership because she does care about the franchise deeply. But I do think the Buss family needed help. And maybe this is perfect for both sides of it. They keep over 15%. She's still the governor for X amount of years. And then you got new ownership coming in, rolling up their sleeves and saying, every resource you could think of, we'll maximize it. It's in their best interest to do so. So I think this is significant. Maybe you're not going to see the significance of it for a few years or so, but I think it will calm the water. And I think what it will also do is just you stop getting into these huge highs and these huge lows. And I think that will obviously have a great impact on the Lakers. And then a quick little gift from Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks, and the Lakers look fine. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what we got here. Every comment should be Sliwa. Bless you, brother. I wish you the best in your journey to recovery after those 2 sneezes that almost took out your lower back. All right, let's see what we got here. Dividing the money 8 ways, made it impossible. Did well what she had. I mean, you're trying to live up to expectations to the greatest owner in the history of sports, and it's the Laker franchise, and every outlet out there is like, more Laker news. Just pump more Laker news out there. It's not easy. No question about it. It's not easy. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. If He didn't say bless you. I mean, how dare all you guys. All right, let's start getting into some of these final things that I got going on here. We are going to spend a quick second here. Let me do a little weekend preview action here, of course, presented by the Wallace firm, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out all week. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Khobi Price. Let's get into what we got going on NBA-wise. All right, so I saw this yesterday. Wemby leads the Spurs to franchise first 5-0 start. How good are they? I actually have no idea. I got a chance to watch, was a game against Dallas, I think was opening night for them. Feels like they're good. Looks like they're good. I was talking about it earlier in the season. If we're talking about all the different teams that are out there that you had to worry about in the Western Conference, I wasn't putting San Antonio in that top 6. Do I now got to put San Antonio in the top 6? Maybe I do. But the San Antonio Spurs now are 5-0. If you look at the league right now, OKC is 6-0. San Antonio's 5-0. Chicago and the Philadelphia 76ers are both 4-0, a little bit of a surprise. And Milwaukee is 4-1. By the way, did the Bucks beat the Warriors yesterday without Giannis? That's a little impressive right there. Okay, another quick NBA story I want to get into. The NBA books review most vulnerable bets and the wager limits. I was reading this story yesterday. Before the season, the NBA identified missed free throws, fouls, and turnovers as types of wagers susceptible to manipulation and asked its partner sportsbooks not to offer those bets. FanDuel and DraftKings told ESPN that they have agreed to the NBA's request. FanDuel did not offer such wagers in past seasons. DraftKings had offered in-game betting on players making or missing free throws, but those offerings were not available before a game. So they're trying to find areas where it's really, really easy to manipulate for a player, and they want to take that out of the system. All right, NBA, figure it out. You know, I said this yesterday, and I really do mean it. The NBA, from the betting stuff that's going on, which is most of the story that's going on in the NBA, the betting scandal, to the Kawhi Leonard aspiration Steve Ballmer, it kind of looks a little bit like a shit show. And if I'm Adam Silver right now, he does not have a good perception. He doesn't. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but the NBA looks dumb. They really look like they don't have control of what's going on in the league. We'll see what eventually happens, but I wanted to read those off real quick. Okay, I got a couple things as we preview the weekend. Obviously, the World Series coming up tonight. Dodgers and the Blue Jays. The series goes back to Toronto. Blue Jays, after winning 2 of 3 in LA, are up 3-2, and will have a chance to win the World Series tonight. Here's the problem if you're a Toronto fan. Probably the best pitcher in baseball right now, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, goes on the mound tonight for the Dodgers. So Yamamoto will try to get this to a Game 7, which would be tomorrow. There's only one guarantee. By the time we do a show on Monday, we'll already have a World Series champion. So Yamamoto going up against Gausman. This was the Game 2 matchup, and Yamamoto went 9. Yamamoto has 2 complete games in his last 2 starts in the playoffs. He's been incredible. He's been amazing. He's been the best pitcher in baseball. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. They were talking about if it affects Yamamoto at all, that he got up ready to go for the 19th inning before Freddie Freeman hit the walk-off home run. Does that affect him at all? Hell if I know. But Yamamoto has been really, really incredible. And frankly, so have the Blue Jays, and so has their pitching. So, I mean, if Yamamoto gives up 2 runs, it will almost feel like he gave up 9. That's how good he's been. But Toronto has been obviously much more consistent with their bats, much more putting the ball in play, and the Dodgers have struggled. And you just kind of wait. You know, I think for the Dodgers, it's like, well, are those bats all going to wake up at some point? Is Mookie going to go off? Is Teoscar going to go off? They just got so many dangerous batters. But in baseball, you just got to be bad for 1 week and the season's over. So does that happen tonight where the bats go off and Yamamoto cruises, or the Blue Jays momentum keeps on going? So we'll see what happens. But first pitch is going to be at 5 o'clock tonight. Why do Lakers in the World Series, why are they completely like this? I mean, we can't even sit back and enjoy a nice World Series game. Okay, so that's game 6 coming up tonight. NFL coming up this weekend, just to preview if there are any good games. Lamar Jackson came back yesterday, threw for 4 touchdowns. Ravens beat the Dolphins 28-6. Only thing I'm going to look here is if there are any games that are worth watching, that have a couple of good matchups to them. And from only one, maybe Colts Steelers 7-1 versus 4-3. See if there's any other good ones. I mean, Rams are playing the Saints. It's 5-2 versus 1-7. Chiefs and Bills might be the best game on the schedule, and that's 125 on Sunday. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. All the other games, if I'm going to be honest with you, they're kind of trash. Not that many good games. I'm going to just check here real quick in college football if we got a couple teams that are ranked that are going up against each other, or trash as well. We might have a trash weekend. Number 18 Oklahoma versus number 14 Tennessee. I don't think anybody really cares about that. SC taking on Nebraska, 5-2 versus 6-2. So that could be a good game. That game's at Nebraska. This is what SC has done so far this year. The moment they crack the top 25, they're like, get us out of here. Get us out of here. They lose a game and then they're done. Cincinnati, Utah, those are 2 top 25 teams. I might go to San Diego State. I might go see San Diego State over the weekend. I mean, they're 6-1. Got to give the Aztecs some credit here. My alum. I'll read a couple of the comments and then we'll call it a Friday until tonight. All right. Give me the Bills. Okay. A 14-year contract may have not been all that wise to give to Mookie. I know he struggled, but he's still a freaking stud, but I know he struggled. Blue Jays are smart. Don't chase the home run ball. Yeah, their approach is different. All right, somebody else here disappointed in Snell. To be honest with you, he kind of just threw 2 bad pitches. Now, they just happen to be in the first 3 pitches of the game. But that kind of set the entire tone. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. NBA adding some of the most powerful, wealthy people to the association. Silver has to work for them. Silver now knows how Roger Goodell feels. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think whether you love betting or you don't love betting, or it doesn't bother you in the sport, it doesn't bother me. The only thing I don't like is maybe force too much down people's throat. And there also really needs to be more of an emphasis of, hey, if you have a betting problem, here are the routes that you can take. So, but there's too much money in it now that they're going to get out of it. There's just too much money. The problem is there is a lot of money obviously associated with it. Okay, have control over it. Don't make it look like you don't have any control over it, because it's a terrible, awful look for the league. It's a very, very bad look for the league. All right, my people, I think we're done for the day. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Actually, I got one other thing I want to plug here real quick. Let me work with me here for a second while I get it. Yesterday, I did a members show. I did it at 10 a.m. And thank you to all the members that joined the show, the live show that we did, and loved all their feedback that they were giving. I even gave all the members kind of a backstage look at what the new logo is going to look like. I'm working on a new look for the channel. And I even had them, kind of show them what it's all going to look like. I'm going to put a link here if you want to be a member. The next live member show is going to be on Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning. Members will be a part of the prep for the show. So working on the fly here. Obviously want to make sure that members feel like they're a part of the show. It's a much more intimate setting. We're not just breaking down Laker games. I'm already going to do that here. But if you'd like to be a member, I just put the link in there. love to get as many members as possible. So thank you very much for being a part of the show. It's $3 a month. Please subscribe to the channel. That portion is free. Have a great rest of your morning and your afternoon. I'll see you tonight after the Lakers take on the Memphis Grizzlies.